see if you guys chose the right ones. Do you agree that line A has a positive slope? I agree. It does. Positive slope. When you read it from left to right, it's going up. Okay? Negative slope, line D. Do you agree with that? Yeah. As you look at line D from left to right, it's going down. I agree.
I have a question.
Sure.
So how do you tell if it's going from left to right?
You read it like a book, like you're going from left to right. Is it going down from left to right? Okay? Zero slope. I agree. Horizontal lines have zero slope. So line B has a zero slope. And then undefined, we know vertical lines have undefined slopes. That means that whenever we find it by hand, and we're going to do that in a minute, it means you divide by 0, right? Which means you can't do that. So it's undefined. So let's actually go ahead and look at these and decide whether they are positive, negative, or undefined. So first one, what do you think? Horizontal line. 0 slope. Second one. This is my symbol for undefined. You may or may not have seen that before, but it just means a U with a slash through it. That means undefined or no slope, really. Okay? This one rises from left to right. That's going to be a positive slope. And then when it falls from left to right, it's going to be a negative. So we know this. We should always check when we're graphing whether or not we graph the right slope. Because sometimes when you're going from your y-intercept to the next point, sometimes you go in the wrong direction. You go right when you should go left. So you always want to look at your graph and you want to decide for yourself, is it positive? Is it negative? Did I graph it correctly? Okay? So how about number 9? A line that has 0 slope is it horizontal or vertical? 0 slope. Horizontal. Okay? Of course, it turns red on me. And how about question 10? Undefined slope would be vertical. Now, do we remember what the equations for those look like? You had some of those in your homework last night. What would the equation look like that has 0 slope? Y equals, okay? So it would be like y equals 4, y equals -2, y equals 0. Undefined slope is a vertical line. What does its equation look like? X equals a number. I think the one in your homework was x equals -5, right? That will be a vertical line. Good. So how do we actually find slope? This is what I want you to write down. It's just the formula for it. So the formula is not real big, so it's this right here. It's your rise over your run. I'll write it a little bit bigger for you so you can see it. But this is the slope when you're given 2 points. Okay, and you've done this before, but I want us to be able to find it. Okay, we're going to find the slope given 2 points. So you want to write that formula in your notes if you don't have it already. It's something I fully expect you to know. So if you don't know this formula, you'll need to memorize it. I know that you did it last year in geometry, and I know that you did it in AFDA if you took AFDA, and I know that you did it in Algebra 1. So this is probably either the second or the third or the fourth time you've seen it. So it's something you should definitely already know. Okay? So let's look at this example. I have 2 points. So you want to write those down, 5, 4, and 8, 1. And I want to find the slope of the line that passes through those 2 points. Now, what does y2, y1, x2, x1, what do all those things really mean? Right, they're the actual coordinates, okay? So what I mean here is that I'm going to label the x coordinate here, 5, as x1. And what will I label the 4? y1. It's my first point, so I have x1, y1. And then over here at the point 8, the second point, what are we doing, honey? Now I'm going to have x2, y2. So I know what my numbers are and how they go in the formula, okay? So I have x1 as 5. So let's plug in what we know, okay? y2 minus y1. So what numbers are going to go in here? 1 minus what? 1 minus 4. We have to be real careful because sometimes you're subtracting a negative number. And what happens when you subtract a negative? becomes a positive. So you got to keep those negative numbers real straight. Now I'm going to look at y. It's going to be y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So x2 minus x1 is going to be what down here? Look at your numbers. 8 minus 5. Good. So we're going to have, if we're subtracting these 2 points, okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, 1 minus 4, 8 minus 5. So it's going to be negative 3, because I know 1 minus 4 is negative 3, and then 8 minus 5 is what? How do I reduce that? It's negative 1. Okay, that's how I want you to leave your answer. Okay, don't leave it as negative 3 over 3. What, baby? The question was right here. I circled it for you. You're just finding the slope. Since the slope is negative, okay, put your arm in the air about what, like you don't care. No, seriously. Put your arm in the air and show me what your slope is going to look like if it's negative 1. Okay? I'm looking at you backwards, and I see 2 totally different things. Don't wave it. Just put it actually out. Okay? I agree with Chris. Negative slopes are going to go like this, aren't they? We're actually going to dance next week, believe it or not. I'm serious. We have interpretive dance. We're going to do it. But yes, this is a negative slope. This would be a positive slope. Okay?
So if we're taking the test and we need help on this,
You're going to dance. Okay? I'm going to do it. I have a whole thing I'm planning for next week. I can't wait. Got a disco ball and everything. We're going to dance. Okay? We're going to dance. Seriously. I have shown you my disco ball, right? We're going to dance. It's going to be fun. Anyway, that's Monday. Okay? But negative slope. Let's double check. Okay? If I was going to graph these 2 points, I'm just going to do a quick little graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is the line that connects those 2 points negative, have a negative slope? If I was going to connect these 2, wouldn't they have a negative slope? So that's always something you want to double check yourself, okay? Did I do it correctly? Because those negatives can be pesky. All right, good. Okay? So we already know this because we did it last class. Y equals mx plus b. So you don't have to write it down again. Okay? I don't want you to write it down again. I'd like for us just to kind of review for a minute. Look at these 3 boxes right here. I'm going to cover up what we don't need to see. Look at these 3 boxes. Which ones of those, maybe they all are, maybe none of them are, which ones are in the correct slope-intercept form?
The last one?
The last one is, even though it doesn't have a b, what is, actually does, what is the b in the last one? 0. So I could just say like plus 0, couldn't I? So the 0 is the y-intercept. So yes. Oh, I'm throwing things. I know, I'm trying to dance already. Here, what's the slope? 1. 1 is good. All right, how about the other 2? Are either of those in slope-intercept form? The first one is. Good. Why is this one not?
Because you have to move the 8 on the other side.
And how would I do that?
You have to subtract.
Nope. I would divide.
What's subtract and divide?
Well, I would just divide, actually. And I would divide both of them by 8. Okay? Because I already subtracted the 11, right? That's where you're getting from. But I divide both of them by 8. Okay? Good. So we know what slope-intercept form looks like. That's good. When I look at this one, y equals 4x plus 2. Which one is the slope? Be careful. Be careful. It's just 4. Not 4x, but just 4, right? So we know that. Now, what I'd like us to do, and I told you on your homework last time, if I asked you what the y-intercept was, I said you could say b equals 2. Would you agree? Can we write that as a point? What would the point be? I agree that b equals 2. Oh, well, I have a different one. Y-intercept. Let's look at this line. I can say b equals negative 3, right? Because that's the y-intercept. How would I write that as a point? 0, negative 3. Very good. Because if I'm going to graph it, the y-intercept, 0, negative 3 is going to be down here. Wouldn't you agree? And so that's the y-intercept. Good. All right. So we know these things.
Oh, can you give us
It's nothing to write down. This is all review.
sorry.
Of what, sweetie? Okay, just y equals mx plus b. That's all you need to know. Okay? So let's go ahead and review. You did this last night. Okay? And I'm going to change it up a little bit. Okay? I'm going to make it a greater than sign, not an equal sign. Okay? I'm going to change it up because we're going to actually be looking at graphing the inequalities as well as the equations. And I'm going to show you how to do it on your calculator too. Okay? That's why I gave you that app. So the first thing we're going to do is the same thing we do as if it was an equation. Okay? Nothing's changed. Okay? But I still have to put it in slope-intercept form. So how do I do that? I'm going to subtract the 4x. I'm trying to solve for y, right? So I'm still doing that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to solve for y. So subtract the 4x. So please write this example into your notes. Okay? That leaves me with, perfect. You have to bring down that negative. And what about the right-hand side? Well, in a minute I will. But I still have, can I combine the 14 and the negative 4x? No, they're not like terms. Which one do I write first? The sorry. I hate to say the word ever, because maybe, right?
I'm so used to solving for x.
We definitely will solve for x, but not when there's x's and y's together, most likely. Because we're going to get into factoring and, no, like in about 3 weeks.
This is like a mixture of geometry and AFP, or just
No, this is algebra 2.
I know, but it feels like you know so much of it.
Well, because it's a review at the beginning of the year. It's going to get hard quick, trust me. Okay. Now Chris is right. I got to divide everything by the -7. When I divide by a negative, what happens to my inequality? It flips direction. So don't forget that part. It does that here too. I'm going to divide each piece by -7. Is that okay with you? Because that gives me the slope and the y-intercept separately. And I do have to flip the direction. So I have y flip. What's my slope? I divide it by a negative. No, it's positive 4/7. Positive 4/7 because a negative divided by a negative is positive, right? So positive 4/7. How about the y-intercept? Travis, you with me?
Can I say it?
Why don't you look up here, Travis? Travis, look up here. Tell me what the y-intercept's going to be. It's the last number. I know, hang on, let him figure it out. Okay, 14 divided by -7. What is that? -2, okay? So there's my inequality, and I need to graph it. We already know how to graph the line, but now we're going to introduce 2 more concepts. You either have to make it a solid line or a dotted line, and then we're going to have to shade either above the line or below the line. So here's what we need to know. Let's start by actually just graphing the actual line. We're not going to connect it with a solid or a dotted line yet. We'll do that in a minute. Where do I start to graph? With the 4, the 7, or the -2? At the -2. And what is that again? The y-intercept. So I'm going to go to -2 on the y-axis. I'm going to make a dot. I would recommend that you do this too. Make a little graph for yourself. You can do it right on your notes. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be on graph paper. Yep, go ahead. Yeah, sure. With that 4 and the 7, I need to tell myself, am I going up, down, left, or right? So what does that mean? Up 4, right 7. Please don't say the word over to me. Over doesn't tell me anything. I can go over this way. I can go over this way. I can go over. I mean, I don't know what over means, right? So 4 up, because the top number tells you how far up or down. Since it's positive, we're going to go up. And 7, because it's positive, we're going to go right. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, right 7. Uh-oh, what happens with this? I didn't make my graph big enough, did I? Okay, so hopefully you made your graph go all the way out to 7. Okay, so maybe if I move it. Ooh, that's pretty. Yay. All right. I'll move it off to the right. And I'll extend my 6, 7. There we go. So we have at -2. Whoa. Come on. There we go. We have -2. We're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 7. Okay? And when I have those two, if I connect them like this, we are going to connect them with a line. And I'll just extend it eventually. Just like that. And then we will make arrows. Well, really.
Yeah, Miss Cannon, maybe
Always put arrows.
will you mark us down for that?
I mean, I'm not going to be super duper picky, but it's just good practice. Okay? Does it have a positive slope? Look at the graph. Does it rise from left to right? Okay. I made a mistake, though. I connected it with a solid line. Why is that a mistake? Perfect. Because this inequality does not have an equal sign underneath it, that means that it's going to be a dotted line. So we need to make sure that we change it to a dotted line. Okay? So I'm going to do that. It's now dotted. Okay? I'm fancy. I have smartboard skills. Okay? So make yours a dotted line. And I'm still not finished. You can just make, you got to be careful. I still am not finished because I have to also shade. Okay? Raul, are you okay? Raul is sleeping. Do you need to go get some water? Stand up, do jumping jacks, do some yoga. We can do the tree pose.
I feel like I'm too basic.
We should try it. All right. Maybe I'll incorporate yoga next week. Okay? With our dancing. All right. I have to shade either above the line or below the line. So it says y is less than. Do you agree? Remember, this means less than. So what do you think we're going to do? Probably going to shade below the line. Okay? Here's where and yes, you're right, we are going to shade below the line, but your calculator will help you with this. You ready for it? Go to your app. Go to the Inequalities app for me. So go to app. You don't have to transmit anything right now. I just want you to go to it. And I'm going to have to get behind you, Tim. So, okay. So you're fine. Just clear out of that. You're okay to sit there. I just need to get this. That's all. All right. I'm going to pause the recording on this because you can't see what I'm doing on the calculator. So the calculator and Luis both told us that we needed to shade below the line, and that's what we will do. Okay? So I want us to try another one. Okay? You can use your calculator for help, but I want you to start by graphing the line, deciding if it's solid or negative, solid or dotted, and then where to shade. So let's summarize real quick. Shh, folks. Let's make a table. Make your table, please, on your notes. Okay? We're going to say line type. And we're going to say shade. Okay? So we're going to say greater than is going to be 1, less than is going to be 1. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. We're going to make a little table. Chris and Will, I need you to focus on what I'm telling you up here. Okay, so make your table in your notes. In the first one, greater than. What's the line type, solid or dotted? If it doesn't have an equal sign underneath it, what did I tell you it was? Dotted. So the first two are actually both dotted. Dotted lines. Which means if it has an equal sign underneath it, what kind of a line is it going to be? Solid. Solid as a rock. Now we have to worry about where we're going to shade. Okay? When I talk about shading, I mean, am I shading above the line or am I shading below the line? So, where do you think we're going to shade above the line? What's your intuition? The greater thans. These are the greater thans. So you're going to shade above the line here, and you're going to shade above the line here. Because both of those mean greater than. Now this is only the case when y is on the left-hand side. Y is greater than 2x plus 3. So the y must be on the left in order to make this true. And we have to solve for y anyway to put it in our calculator, don't we? So it works out well.
So why are they both above? Oh, okay.
Because they're both greater than. And then the last two are both less than. One's less than and one's less than or equal to, right? So those are going to be shaded below the line. Okay? So we know all about slope. We know how to find the y-intercept. We can graph the line. Now we're just going to add solid lines, dotted lines, and where to shade. So let's try one more example before I give you guys some problems to work on your own, okay? So let's look at this guy. So I'm going to highlight it for you so you can see it. Y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 1. So this is the last example for your notes for today. Okay? Yes, sir?
What if the y is on this side of the...
If it's on the other side? Okay. That's a really good question. Because that happens sometimes on your test that you took last class. If you have something like this, and the y is on the other side, how could I change it so the y is on the left? Here's something that people did and it's wrong. Okay, let me just show you. Some people just did this. And that is incorrect. They're not the same thing. If you look at the first one, this one's opening up to the y, isn't it? So when you change it so you move the y on the other side, you have to keep it so it's opening up to the y. So if you want to flip it, you have to just make sure you flip the inequality too. Okay, that's all. All right, so here we are. Y is greater than negative 2x plus 1. Is it in slope-intercept form? So I don't have that to do at least. Okay, it's already in slope-intercept form. So, is it a solid or a dashed line? Solid. Okay? We're going to talk about a test point in a minute. Okay? It's something extra you can do to make sure you've shaded it correctly. Let's go ahead and graph it, and then I'll show you what I mean by this test point. So, Will, where do I start to graph in this problem? Y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 1. On the which axis? Good. So 1 on the y-axis. Okay. Joseph, what do I do from here? What's the slope? Okay. Negative 2. Now, because it's an integer, and we want to go ahead and use it to create the next point, what should I probably do with that fraction? Put it over what? 1. Not when I write it in the equation, but just simply to go ahead and make my next point. So what does the negative 2 over 1 tell me? Do I go up, down 2, left, right 2? What am I doing?
Down 2, right 1.
There you go. So down 2, right 1. So down 2, right 1. I could also go up 2, left 1.
But the slope's going down.
Yes, because when I draw my line, it will be going down from left to right. I connect them with what kind of a line? Solid. And then I have to decide where I'm going to shade. Am I going to shade above the line or below the line? Okay, since it says greater than, my feeling is above. Some people think that looks more like right and left, so it's hard to see if it's above or below. So that's where this idea of the test point comes into play. Okay? You can plug in a point to see if it satisfies the inequality. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay? I'm going to plug 0, 0 because it's the easiest point to use. I'm going to plug a 0 in for x and a 0 in for y. Let's do that. 0 is greater than or equal to -2 times 0 plus 1. Is that true or not? It's false. It doesn't work. So that means that the point 0, 0 will not be shaded. So that means that I'm going to shade the other way. I'm going to shade where 0, 0 is not covered. Now the nice thing is that the calculator will also do that for you. So let's go into our calculator again. Let's go to the y equals. Let's clear out whatever equation we have there. And let's put in this one. Okay? Let's put in y is greater than or equal to -2x plus 1. Okay. He's got big old feet. Okay? So how do I change that greater than or equal to again?
Alpha, graph.
Good. So alpha, and then I'm going to do greater than or equal to. So he's right. Alpha graph. Okay? And then I'm going to go over to the right, and I'm going to plug in -2x plus 1. And go ahead and hit graph, and we should have the same thing show up. You have to go to y equals first. Clear that out. You have to go over to the right, clear it out, and start again, okay? Did you get it? Your calculator doesn't use the thing. I'll get it on there in a minute. I'll show you. Okay? Okay, I'll be there in just a minute. So, I'm going to give you guys some problems to work on. These are going to be actually graded, okay? So it's not just like a traditional homework assignment. So I'd like for you guys to look at these problems and treat them that way. The last 3, you have to solve for y and shade, but that's really the only ones that look like that, okay? You have some slopes to find, so we'll have to look at the slopes as well. I think there's an extra one there.